you imagine how today's society would be if everyone was entitled to a free education? I can imagine an abundance of doctors, lawyers, teachers, social workers, law enforcement agents, you name it. But with our society being, our economy being in such turmoil, it's making it almost impossible for us to obtain a degree. This is why education and all expenses should be free for all post-secondary institutions in the United States. What do we mean by free? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, free is defined as to exempt from payment, meaning costing nothing. For many years, City of New York's colleges has costed nothing. They were associated with free tuition, and everyone attended New York City public colleges did so without paying a dime. According to CUNY.edu, up until the fall of 1976, due to the turmoil of a dire fiscal crisis, the free tuition policy was discontinued under the pressure from the federal government, the state, and the financial community. Tuition should be free for many reasons. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, tuition is defined as the price or payment for instruction. Tuition should be free because it is the #1 cause of financial debt. Students are unable to afford tuition because of tuition rates skyrocketing. Therefore, students are forced to take out student loans. However, by the time students finish their degree, they are in a world of financial debt. Since tuition rates have been increasing, more students are taking out loans. According to the New York Times, student borrowing has more than doubled in the last decade, and students from lower income families, on average, get smaller grants from the colleges they attend than students from more affluent families. To me, this sounds backwards, but this is the way society is structured. Student loans aren't the only reasons why tuition should be free. Not to mention the fact of the stress that this causes on students as we have to worry about how we're going to afford college. I am one of those students who's overwhelmed and stressed about how am I going to afford my last semester here at York. I have exhausted all my outlets of financial aid and is already in debt with student loans. This leaves me with only two options, of which one is to come up with $2,200 for my last 9 credits, or take out another student loan to add to my student debt. Now, is this really fair? Because according to Hamadeh and Kouari, they state that education is considered to be one of the main catalysts of economic growth and development, which means in order for America to function, laborers are needed. So in a sense, we need them to survive financially by obtaining jobs, and they need us to sustain. This is another example why tuition should be free. We students are the future of America, but with the government making tuition so hard to afford, students are forced to drop out. Where government is making tuition so hard to afford, students are forced to drop out, then where does that leave our country? Having to depend on taking out student loan can also cause stress on a student. It can also cause stresses on a student adding to the stress of already worrying about their GPAs, worrying about the other expenses. What do I mean by other expenses? Going to college can get very costly when you have to pay for other expenses such as books, travel, food, and housing. So when you add all of this up, can you see now why raising tuition is causing a major debt upon us students? In conclusion, attending college has always been a fulfilling dream, but due to the skyrocketing rates of tuition increasing, it has become a stressful nightmare. Those that come from affluent families are privileged to not have to stress about finances more than others. No, stress about financial ties as it relates to school than others. From one student to other students, I stress that we get together and let our voices be heard. Last semester, Occupied CUNY was started, and I believe that if we all stand together and join this cause, we can make a difference.